what an awesome segue for you, sir.
I really have enjoyed hearing everyone. Everyone has so many different perspectives and really brings some insight into the conversation from, offset and digital and electronic technology. And it's so fascinating and
Uh,
inspiring to hear so many different versions that are all pointing to the same
yeah.
direction.
And the other thing that's really interesting, and I mean, you and I have had this conversation for a while now. First of all, we're on the Project Peacock platform. So that means that everybody here is honestly at a different level of knowing that print and digital work together. Nobody's in here in the Project Peacock platform thinking, I'm only one at print, you know? And what Alex just said was so important, that printers can't live in that vacuum either. And if there was ever anybody who understood print and digital and how they work together, it is you, sir. You are the founder of Nvent Marketing. Prior to that, you had a long and storied career in the printing industry. Most recently, were the worldwide marketing director of HP PageWide Press. I met you when you were actually the wide format guy at HP. I don't know if you remember that. A long,
What do you mean?
time ago.
What do you mean you don't know if I remember it? This is our 10th anniversary because it was 10 years ago that we met at SGIA in New
Yes,
Orleans.
it
It was
was.
October
Oh my
2011.
God, it
So
was.
you didn't remember.
I'm
You
sorry,
didn't.
David.
I got
I'll
you.
send you flowers, honey. I promise. Now you spend your time helping printers breach this chasm, to some of them, on how print and digital can effectively work together. So can you please tell everybody about Nvent Marketing and a little bit about your background too? I want everyone to know how awesome you are.
Thanks, Deborah. So real quick, I started a promotional products advertising specialties company in my senior year in high school. So I started printing things when I was still a pup, right? And from there, I went to work at Riso and moved up the ladder there to become VP of marketing at Riso of the Americas. And then I had the opportunity to go to HP, as you said, I was involved in the graphics solutions business there. But, in all of those roles, I was working with print providers and partners in the ecosystem. And as you said, and as we all know, we all kind of get it in this space in terms of the adaptation and the adoption of technology. However, I don't know that we are really representative of the entire industry. There are tens of thousands of print providers in the world who still are somewhat living in the 20th century, and they have not embraced technology. So I, have taken all of my knowledge and education and experience in having worked with print providers over the years and started this digital marketing centric business to help printers build their brand, build their entire holistic strategy around the delivery of their brand promise, and transcending that to an articulation where they can introduce themselves to strangers, create value, start a relationship, culture and nurture them, cultivate and nurture them, and really create long-term fans from them. So it is a very long journey that buyers go through for the most part. And it starts with learning, it starts with exploration, it starts with discovery, and it doesn't go immediately to purchase. So there are many different touch points along the way, and everyone consumes information differently. But print plays a really vital role at certain points in that chain. So does digital. And I loved a lot of what Brad was talking about earlier in terms of the integration between the two platforms, because they really do complement one another and they do not compete. And I believe, unfortunately, that there are still some in the print industry who believe that, the internet is the enemy and it's a competitor to print, and it's somehow competing for the share of wallet of advertisers. And if you really chop it down to that core level, perhaps there is some alternative, buy option in terms of where clients and advertisers can put their their investment. But what we do is we help them understand where they can put it to maximize the return. And it isn't always in digital print, even though, sorry, it isn't always in digital marketing. It's not always in Facebook, Google, and LinkedIn. It is very often in, traditional and offline means of brand awareness and demand generation. So we really help bring it all together and help them understand where it's best applied.
So, me, I like to interpret for you. So I'm going to use the Deborah Whisperer thing here. So where Brad's product helps printers help their customers, you actually help the printers get customers.
That's correct.
And the way I have been positioning digital marketing lately is, that workforce development problem everyone's having? How would you like an invisible salesperson? Invisible salespeople who don't complain, who don't have to wear masks or get a vaccination, or who don't, need to, be at a certain place at a certain time. Mr. Google and the internet and all the other tools can be working for every printer out there. How does that manifest without making it scary for people?
So when you bought your last product, you began researching that product someplace. Maybe you first saw it or heard it on some kind of broadcast media. Maybe it was TV or radio, or you saw it in some kind of billboard perhaps. But through multiple exposures or through word of mouth, you became aware of that product or brand, and then you began to do your own research about it. And very often, people go to the internet to conduct a search. They go to Google when they want to learn something, when they want to go someplace, when they want to do something, and it really gives them this touch point to learn and engage and take action. And very often it's about learning, and they begin this sort of silent, sometimes late at night exploration where they begin asking questions and doing queries. And that's where, through search engine optimization, printers can be found without having to pay anyone for it, by creating worthwhile, relevant content that is pertinent to what people are looking for based on application or market or otherwise. So it does have this middle of the night, 24/7 engine that's running that allows you to communicate your value, to make a connection with people who are exploring either for the first time or ready to make a decision to buy. And frankly, I also want to say, Deborah, that there's two hemispheres. There is printers trying to be introduced to strangers and get new prospects. But the other side of my business is working with brands who want to buy a Facebook ad or do an SEO campaign, and they come to me and they say, can you help me with a Google ad, or help me build a website? But very often they don't think about print, because there are many times two hemispheres to the world where all of us in the print industry think of print first, but there are others outside of print who don't think of print first. And so what I do is I help them understand how print can fit into that equation. And so I have the pleasure of the experience of knowing how to educate both sides, how to help educate printers on the value of digital marketing, but also help those who are already pursuing a digital marketing strategy understand how print can help them. And go ahead.
I was going to say that's so cool. We actually never spoke about that, but you're right. Especially like, I was, been looking. I'm always looking at like, what is the thing that printers might be able to generate some new business in? And there are a lot of technical startups, and they need a ton of print. They just don't realize that they need it, Sure. And they can't just, they can't really tell investors who they are in a tweet. I mean, they can try, but you need materials, or you need to create a print experience, so there's cool stuff out there. So I love that you're helping that in both ways. Now, you mentioned the C word in this case, it's content, but to printers, it is also a dirty word. They don't think that they're in the content business. They think they're in the printing business. I am certainly in the belief that for printers to truly not just survive, but to thrive, as Sandy Hubbard says, they need to become marketers. They can't sit and wait for orders to come. They need to generate ideas that generate business. Now, this is where there's a big, well, there's certainly other factors that play into this, which goes back to not having enough people in the print shop. But can you just talk a little bit about a buying process and how the role that content plays in that online, and how are you defining content?
So content is information that either entertains or informs someone. So you want to go on the internet to be entertained, or you want to learn how to do something, how to go someplace, how to buy something, or where to connect with other people, right? So content serves its purpose at various points in the buying cycle. So it could be a blog, it could be a video, and it doesn't have to be too scientific. It could be it could be a 300-word blog post to start, but it could also be a customer case study, and it could be an interesting photo of a print job that you had just produced with the permission of that customer. They allowed you to promote that, and you just tell a little bit of story. So content is deep and shallow, and it's broad and narrow. So it can be delivered through your website, through your social media, through your videos, and through print. And that's really the beauty of this integration, is to understand that content is delivered through print and through the internet all the same. And there are touch points that a buyer might miss if they don't have print delivering content to them, or if they don't have electronic communication delivering that to them. So let's suppose it's 1995 and we are sending emails out, and we've developed a landing page, and maybe it's a Perl because we're really advanced. And then there is some kind of form that someone can complete, and they can download a PDF. Beautiful, right? But you can augment that engagement by including a postcard that has additional information, that has QR or AR in it, that has additional layers of content in it. And instead of having a PDF download, why don't you make it a printed kit that is fulfilled back to them, so they actually get an envelope or a box with samples or a book inside of it? Because that's another thing that I believe so many people miss, is the cost of print versus the cost of an email or a Google ad. And so what I do is I work with my clients and talk to them about not what things cost, but what they return. And depending upon what your goals are, if they are brand awareness, you are interested probably in the metric of cost per impression. How many people can I reach for this many dollars? And is it engaging them to any level? And if you're trying to generate demand, the most important metric is cost per acquisition or cost per response. I would say cost per acquisition is more important, because you want to know how much it actually costs you to create a customer. And print has a compelling story to tell in both of those metrics, because if you have $1 to spend on the internet, you could probably reach 150 people for $1 if you did a Facebook ad. But you could also reach probably 500 people with any kind of out-of-home, banner display, billboard, where you're reaching more people. So from a cost per impression basis, print has a compelling role. And if you have promotional products in there, you could reach 1,000 people for $1. And then for a cost per acquisition, you have to look at direct mail as a very compelling and attractive metric for cost per acquisition, because it costs about $20 to acquire a customer through social media on average, and it costs about $26 to acquire them through direct mail. So comparable, it's not 10x, it's within 15%, but printed mail can have so much more compelling resonance with them. So those are just some of the, and what I just told you in that 30 seconds is content. That could be a 300-word article that someone could write about the role that print plays in brand awareness, in customer acquisition, in customer engagement and customer expansion. And that is an example of how, and what I may do with this little thing is I might chop this 5-minute video into 5 30-second snippets and put that on my social media, and that's content. So it doesn't have to be something where we sit down at a big conference table and say, today we have to come up with content. Content's already happening with us every day. You just have to leverage it and distribute it.
Well, you could chop up my content if you have a legal team at your in your dining room with Vinny Barcarino, who we hear. Let me ask you this, okay? Because where the obstacle comes from is, what does a printer have to do all of this? I hope the answer is nothing. Just sign on the dotted line and let David Murphy take it away.
Well, they can do that. That's one of the options. There are different levels of interest in terms of what a print provider or any kind of solutions provider wants to invest in. So depending upon the goal and the budget, it may be best for you to use your own staff and let my company train them how to do the work themselves. It doesn't always have to be through an agency, but they may realize that the cost per hour, the cost per employee gives them greater returns if they have those people doing something else. And so therefore, my team of specialists can deliver that value perhaps at a lower cost. So we customize everything. We don't sell any inflexible packages that cannot be customized. So we do some programs where we will get a printer started, and then after 6 months, they're on their own. They've learned enough and engaged enough with our team to understand how to do it themselves, and then they can come back to us on a project basis. So
they can also create a service out of it and help their small and medium business clients do the same thing that they're doing for their business, which is really where I hope we get to that point.
Sure.
I mean, I still in many ways don't understand why at this point in time the printing marketing is going one place and the digital marketing is going another place. If you have a in-house designer and you're helping someone create a postcard, you can easily do the ads that go on the internet, and like you said, with some training and education from an expert like you, set it out there to be free on Google and bring the business to you. Along those lines, final question, print again, big subject in the digital marketing world, because everything's about again, right? So what does that mean to you? And also, how can people get in touch with you besides visiting your booth on the platform? Yay.
So I think that the pendulum has overswung toward electronic communications. And I think advertisers and CMOs are realizing, when they look at the cost per impression and the cost per acquisition, that print is compelling with certain kinds of applications. Direct mail, kind of a no-brainer in terms of cost per acquisition. But there are other applications that are still being I would say explored by some and accelerated by others. So you look at interior decor. Man, that's been around for 10 years, but there's still not enough restaurants, retailers, and hotels and businesses that are taking advantage of it. And there's so much compelling value in the idea of frequently swapping out and changing your brand imagery, where you've got tens of thousands of people who have access to it. So they're now considering those kinds of things as new ideas. Hey, I got a new idea, and it involves print and branding. And so it's these kinds of technologies that are creating these applications that are inspiring others to think of print differently. And so I think that the pendulum will swing back toward the middle, and there'll be this greater balance between print and the internet, and advertisers and brands can achieve the greatest reach and frequency and lowest acquisition cost for their dollar. And that's what we're all about.
David, it is always such a pleasure to hear from you. You're informative, some great comments about everything you have just said. I just want to really thank you for the support over the years. David Murphy is the one who taught me something very important. When I first started out in the industry, everyone kept asking me how I made money, and I thought it was the rudest question I'd ever heard in my life. I'm from New York. I'm like, what do you care how I make money? Like, go live your life. And then David Murphy sat me down and he's like, how do you make money? And I was like, you know what, David Murphy, why do you care how I make money? Why is everyone asking me how I make money? And he looked at me square in the eyes and he said, because I want to give you some and I don't know how. And I was like, oh, it's not a rude question. So thank you for teaching me that, and for all of your support and partnership over the years. Nventmarketing.com. Visit David Murphy's booth. You could send a request in there, connect with him on social, follow him on LinkedIn. This man is always sharing amazing information. Thank you so much for everything. And we're going to bring Jonathan Malone McGrew from Solimar Systems in to wrap us up for the evening.